day, friends. This is Bob from BBD. Two major events, as I told you yesterday, coming up. One, Bihar, second phase going on. The US is getting ready for its main day, main event. But what's happening in the world of COVID? COVID's gone absolutely ballistic globally, right? Germany, for example. Germany announced the closure of restaurants and bars, other restrictions, and France was expected to impose new measures. The UK has done it. It's just totally out of control. Now, in the US elections, as Verghese rise, the Kamala moment in Indian American politics, people wonder about them, but this is something that you must note. Attempts to shape the diaspora's politics as an extension of the BJP's cultural nationalism in India has hit a barrier. That is true. As he says, Indian Americans may well be culturally rooted, but that does not automatically make them puppets of Hindutva cultural politics in the US. Those who might gladly support cultural nationalism in India need cultural diversity in the US for self-preservation and ally with the Democrats. Biden supporters are largely Modi supporters too. Guys, watch this. What is it in it for India? If Biden wins, I personally think not to worry. He says if Biden wins, Sri Ram Churliya writes, a Biden presidency will be less transactional and competitive with Trump's vis-a-vis America's traditional partners and allies. India should try to make the most of it. Here he says the Indo-Pacific is the ultimate touchstone of India's US partnership, while Trump moved during the latter part of his first term to aggressively consolidate ties with a range of partners there and pushed back against China. The regional architecture is still not solid enough to deter Chinese offensive behavior. Part of the problem has been Trump's disinterest in formulating an identifiable formal policy towards the Indo-Pacific, and which the Democrats and Biden must do. India must be rational and try to make the most of possible Biden presidency, but we should also be clear-eyed that the US is not the be-all and end-all of achieving our strategic goals. Smart forward planning with lowered expectations will serve us well. Okay. Things within India's border continue to be tense. This is India's border. Forget the LAC, forget the LOC, but what do we have here? Assam-Mizo border tense after death of a drug peddler. Man, somebody would think, we're living in La La Land, and sometimes it just seems like that. This is a reality check in Kashmir, as written by, which I thought was worth noting, written by Tavleen. There could not have been a worse moment for Mehbooba Mufti to insult the Indian flag. As a former chief minister who swore by the Indian constitution, she should never have said that Indian flag will only be allowed in Kashmir after our flag is given back. But to say this in the week that one of Imran Khan's ministers admitted in Pakistan's parliament that the Pulwama massacre counted as one of his prime minister's success made it sound much worse. If there was been general support across India for the abrogation of Article 370, it is because in the past 3 decades, we have seen the Kashmir Valley become an arena of Pakistani terrorism and radical Islam. True. Farooq Abdullah said something as offensive. He said the Kashmir was ready to throw its lot with China if the country could guarantee the restoration of Article 370. Has he heard of the Uyghur people? Obviously not. He also has got his head in the sand sometimes. Does he just stick with poetry sometimes? Does he know that Islam is being treated in the country as an evil ideology? Does Imran Khan know? Does Erdogan know? Does half of the Middle East know? Of course they do. But that few dollars more. Nothing that has happened in the Hindutva times compares with what China has done to its Muslims. Oh, true. Remarks of this kind by 2 former chief ministers confirm that Article 370 had to go. This is amazing. What we both agree on is my personal view is that the aftermath of the abrogation of Article 370 has been badly handled. I agree. And again, in the real estate, he said, the irony is that in all 3 regions, Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh, there is a strong opposition to opening the Ladakh market to non-residents. I agree. Political parties in J&K too have opposed the changes. Free movement of people and an integrated nation market can advance development, but India's governance structure accommodates fears and concerns of local population in the context in a measured manner. Think of Himachal, think of the Northeast. Important. Look at this. Goa College stands by professor, tells ABP will not sack her. This is something that requires heart and glory and toughness. More after the break. Welcome back, folks. A little bit on China. Like I said, there's news that the Prime Minister is going to run into Xi virtually 3 times in this month. I think there is an SCO meeting, there's a G20. There is no chance, I hope, of a bilateral because it's not needed, it's not necessary till China goes back to status quo ante, which I personally don't think it's going to do, because I think India should be ready and prepared for some kind of a fisticuff in May, if not early, right? Early May. What do we say? India to rebalance forces, firepower to LAC and IOR. That should have been done much earlier. IOR is a critical advantage. LAC now, I think we should just have an LOC right for running from Pakistan all the way across to the eastern border. It's just one boundary, and that's important to note. And we should not actually be thinking of a 2-front war. This is just one front. Then it says on table for next round of LAC talks, thinning of troops signal from Beijing on certain friction points as harsh Ladakh winter sets in. So all this stuff that they're posing around, that they're buying new top of the line garments for their soldiers, etc., is all bully, because their soldiers are just not prepared. Our soldiers have the preparation and the courage to handle the winter. Then we have Malabar exercise kicks off today. The 24th edition of the exercise will be held in 2 phases. US and Indian aircraft carriers likely to deploy it in the 2nd phase. Power projection, way to go. And what's being added to the Indian Ocean? Germany to send warship to patrol Indian Ocean. That's important. Harsh Shringla has just visited France and Germany and the United Kingdom, and all 3 actually should be partners, extensions of the Indo-Pacific. And if you have a deepening of economic bonds between India and UK, I think India now has to put aside the relationship that it had gone on the rocks with Theresa May, because she was kind of out of whack. With Boris Johnson, it's time to get in again, especially now that China has lost its preference amongst the Tories. Here, like as it says, in foreign policy, from Helen Waddle from London, Tories call for watchdog on China threat. Body would highlight risks across politics, business and academia. We need a body looking at the CCP activities across the spectrum of political interference and lobbying. This is important, folks. Time for India to get into the Commonwealth and leadership of the Commonwealth. Look at what people like Imran, Erdogan, and Mahathir end up doing. Hindu homes attacked in Bangladesh after rumors of alleged FP post slandering Islam. But listen, India has ourselves to blame. Why do we have ourselves to blame? As Ashkur Rahman writes in his article in Indian Express, about 2 years ago, India's Home Minister Amit Shah spoke of infiltrators who were hollowing out the country like termites. A minister from Bangladesh retorted that Shah's statement was inappropriate. But this is unwarranted, absolutely. But if you make statements like this, you actually make your own religion a target in that country, right? Things are happening in Nepal. Only Prachananda rift resurfaces. PM hints at splitting ruling party. I think India should help the split. And this should be a smack on the face of the wolf warrior, lady Chinese ambassador in Nepal, and it's about time to do it. And why China will have a difficult time and India has to keep control of this is this article by Indrani Bagchi, Thaw in Delhi-Kathmandu ties. But whatever the vagaries of the politico-diplomatic dynamic between Kathmandu and New Delhi, the 2 armies have maintained their close relationship for all the China leaning of the KP Sharma Oli government. The army has retained close ties with the Indian, American and British defense establishments, which will make it difficult for them to change course towards Beijing. Absolutely right. The United States will find it very difficult to withdraw even though Trump wins, especially after this incident. 22 killed after IS gunmen stormed Kabul University. Report in the New York Times, gunmen killed at least 19 people at Kabul University, the 2nd time in just over a week. What happens next? India rejects Pak's province status for Gilgit-Baltistan. About time, folks. We take control of this real estate. This is a critical piece of real estate for India because it connects us to Afghanistan and Central Asia and makes us a player in the big game. Time to not just talk about the province of Gilgit and Baltistan, but do something about it. What does Imran have to say? Expect USA to treat India, Pakistan equally. Is he mad? Smoking something from Manali. What does M.K. Narayanan write? Shifting trajectory of India's foreign policy. Finally, the impact of India signing on to US-related foundational military agreements cannot but impact India-Russia relations, which have been a staple of India's foreign policy for more than half a century. Admittedly, India relations in recent years have not been as robust as the pre-2014 period, but many of the edifices that sustain the relationship at optimum levels, including annual meetings between the Russian president and the Indian prime minister, remain. It is difficult to see how this can be sustained if India is seen increasingly going into the US embrace. I think it's time to disengage from Russia. It's going to take some smarts, but it is time. It cannot be the cornerstone of our foreign policy like it used to be in the past. And as Pompeo continues, Pompeo urges Indonesia to buck China. The secretary called on Muslims to challenge Beijing's treatment of Uyghurs. I think every Muslim nation should be called out and told that you cannot have duplicitous behavior as far as China is concerned and as far as Muslims are concerned. So India also needs to be there. And as the foreign policy unravels for Russia and Turkey, Armenia asks Moscow for help amidst conflict. I think both Erdogan and Russia have got more on their hands that they bargained for. More after the break.
Driving force of the nation, now driving Max Plus Logistics. Unparalleled discipline, exceptional work ethic and diligence combined with mental and physical agility to meet any challenges. Moving forward on the right path in the face of physical stress and adversity. Max Plus Logistics. Wait till the end for some more information. May the Max Force be with you.
Welcome back, folks. This narrative on Indo-Pacific, the Quad, the breakdown of the system has really created a lot of space for India. India just has to have the wherewithal to use it, not only in terms of geostrategic implications, but geostrategic economic, geostrategic technological issues. India can actually be part of the group everywhere. As Daniel Rosen and Thilo Hanneman write, make China's loss India's gain. It says, India with its size and labor pool has always held promise in a global production hub. Annual FDI flows into India surged from 4 billion in 2000 to 47 in 2008. But over the past decade, annual FDI inflows have stalled. Today, they are just over 1/3 of what China attracts each year. India's comparative advantage in land labor are powerful, but onerous bureaucratic rules and politics are even stronger. Prospective investments are stymied by shifting tax regimes. Despite some consolidation of labor laws at the federal level, there remains hundreds of labor laws at the state level which can be fragmented, inconsistent and confusing for job creators. These are formidable hurdles to business contemplating investing in India. Important. What has Delhi done that's really going to enhance the value of Delhi and make it a tech hub, an AI hub? No manufacturing activities in New Delhi's new industrial areas. Only high-tech and service industries to operate. I've been wondering why this has happened many years ago, but pathetic. Airtel, on the way back in 2020, Jio's growth leadership goes missing as Airtel catches up. It's always good to have a competitor. Jio on its own would have been insufferable. And then as we go, last bit, easy foreign listing for startups, MSMEs soon. We really need to create a new class of shares, folks, where ownership is different from actual control of the board and directors. Jai Hind and be safe.